Could tyrannosaurs survive the Ice Age? Welcome to the Pleistocene, a time period famous for intense glaciation and charismatic mammalian megafauna, with cycles of ice covering much of the northern world. Mammoths, woolly rhinos, saber-toothed cats, and enormous bears roamed the earth, and in some southern regions gigantic birds filled the large herbivore niche. Today, Pleistocene Earth has an even more ancient visitor, Yutyrannus huali, an early tyrannosaur from Cretaceous China. This ancient predator is no stranger to freezing climes, but can it adapt to a world of giant mammals and fast competitors? We'll cover how it interacts with its new home, obtains food to satisfy its hunger, and handles conflicts with native competitors and predators. Then, at the end, we'll examine how its arrival in the Pleistocene could cause its own evolutionary trajectory to change. In order to understand the war, we must first study the soldier. Yutyrannus huali, meaning beautiful feathered tyrant, was described in 2012 by Xu Xing, the legend of Chinese paleontology who's described more genera than any other living paleontologist. It was collected privately in Liaoning province, but is believed to have been from the Yutyrannus Formation, which dates to 125 to 124 million years ago. Two specimens were actually found together and were of different ages, possibly implying gregariousness in this early Tyrannosauroid, with another juvenile specimen from a different quarry. The juvenile and subadult would have weighed approximately 500 and 600 to 700 kilograms respectively, with the adult at 7.5 meters long and 1.5 metric tons, 3 times the mass of a typical boar polar bear. As primitive members of the Tyrannosaur group, they still had long arms with powerful hook claws that could have been utilized to grip and tear prey or to manipulate pieces of meat during feeding. The legs of the adult are relatively short compared to the juvenile, implying that perhaps they gradually traded out speed for power as their bodies became more robust. They already were demonstrating part of the Tyrannosaur robusticity in their skulls, with deep snouts and D-shaped teeth that could have gouged or crushed bone. They show a different body plan from later small Asian tyrannosaurs like Chenjosaurus and Alioramus, which took the thin, super-fast katana approach. Its top speed would likely be quite a bit lower than its more cursorial relatives. I'm spitballing here, but 15 to 20 miles an hour is probably where it peaks, although with its unidirectional respiratory system, it would be able to keep that pace for a long time. Yutyrannus, as I mentioned, was already adapted to a cold environment. The Yutyrannus Formation was a temperate region with lots of lakes, flowering plants, and conifers, and is described as similar to modern British Columbia. Volcanic eruptions were not uncommon in the lake environment. It was also quite cold, thanks to its high latitude combined with fluctuations in Earth's orbit during the time. A 2011 isotopic study found that the average annual temperature was only 10 degrees Celsius or 50 Fahrenheit, indicating that winters would have gone notably below freezing with mild summers. Yutyrannus had feathers for a reason, and as a theropod would have had an active metabolism as well, using a combination of insulation, large body size, and metabolic heat to stay warm in the snowscape of Cretaceous China. And of course, it wasn't the only animal in its environment. Smaller colleagues include the dinosaurs Psittacosaurus, Sinosauropteryx, and Caudipteryx, all of which are exceptionally preserved thanks to the Lagerstätte conditions of the Yutyrannus Formation. Rodent-like multi-tuberculate mammals were common, and would have been potential egg stealers and baby eaters that Yutyrannus was used to dealing with. We see early birds, frogs, turtles, snakes, and lizards eating insects and each other. Sinornithosaurus was a small dromaeosaur that would have preyed on the tiny animals of the Yutyrannus. Iguanodontians and ankylosaurs provide a diversity of body types. Dongbei titan was a fairly small titanosaur at 6 to 8 tons, and was suggested by Xu Xing to be one of the primary prey items for Yutyrannus packs. You don't need to be wicked fast when you're hunting sauropods, so they likely either set ambushes or pursue the sauropods to exhaustion. Or both. Both is good. Now that we have a basic understanding of Yutyrannus, let's cover how it'll handle its new home, the Nihewan Formation of the early Pleistocene, 1.6 million years ago. This formation in northern China was dominated by temperate forests and lakes, with plenty of grassland territory as well. Temperature was comparable to the Yutyrannus Formation, if not slightly warmer. The basin forests and flatlands were surrounded by low mountains, creating a sort of Great Valley environment rich with water, vegetation, and large mammalian herbivores. Oxygen levels were broadly comparable to the early Cretaceous, if not slightly higher, and no, Earth's gravity was not significantly different. Neither of those factors would affect a theropod moving to the Cenozoic, and I discussed the myths associated with those claims in another video in more detail. In terms of basic environment, there aren't any disadvantages for Yutyrannus. It's perfectly fine with the temperature, and northern China looked fairly similar during this time to what Yutyrannus was used to. That's a 10 out of 10 for home, which is as good of a start as you can hope for as a time-displaced theropod. Hunger is where things changed dramatically compared to the Cretaceous. Gone are the ornithopods and sauropods that would have formed the majority of the feathered tyrant's diet. The Nihewan Basin instead was home to some of the most charismatic mammalian megafauna of the Pleistocene, some of which were even bigger than the sauropods Yutyrannus hunted. Horses, deer, bison, and rhinos are the most common. They're certainly large enough to be worth eating, but there's a problem. They're fast, and in some cases are very fast. Yutyrannus's probable top speed of 15 miles or 24 kilometers an hour pales in comparison to the 30 to 50 miles or 48 to 80 kilometers an hour that wild horses can reach. Chinese deer were also quite rapid, and both bison and rhinos combine speed with overwhelming brute strength. A pack of Yutyrannus would be able to take one down, but that would require a perfect storm of ambush conditions. Chalicothyrium is a much more tempting meal. It's a relative of horses and rhinos in the order Perissodactyla, but instead of going for speed and power, decided to copy sloths. They were slow, knuckle-walking plant eaters that grasped soft vegetation with their claws. At 2 to 3 tons, they weren't much larger than Yutyrannus itself, and would not have been accustomed to sharing the environment with predators of that caliber. While their claws could certainly deal significant damage, connecting with them is the problem. One that the stealthy theropods could maneuver around without much trouble. Hipparion is another horse genus, much smaller than Equus. It was likely still faster than Yutyrannus, but could present opportunistic meals. The same goes for the bison, rhinos, and deer mentioned earlier. Overall, the food availability here is quite robust. The rhinos, given their speed, size, and weaponry, would be the most difficult prey in the area, with chalicothyrs and large pigs likely forming the majority of Yutyrannus's diet. Other megamammals do roam the area, but are a little out of the small tyrannosaurs league. Mammuthus trogontheri, or the steppe mammoth, reached a typical male mass of over 9 tons with a shoulder height of 3.7 meters. Exceptionally large record-breaking specimens may have been 4.5 meters at the shoulder and weighed over 14 tons. Yutyrannus is not going to start hunting such large creatures unless they find a baby on its own. Mammoth hunting is a job for a megatheropod. Overall, that's a 6 for hunger. The speed of native megafauna makes things difficult compared to home, but group behavior, ambushes, and hyper-efficient respiratory systems are all crucial advantages for Yutyrannus. It might not outspeed its prey here, but it can easily outlast it, and its powerful jaws can make short work of most things it can catch. Of course, with so much walking meat in the environment, something's got to eat it. That's where the native competitors come into the picture. Pachycrocuta was a huge hyena about the size of a lion, equipped with powerful bone-cracking teeth and strong, short limbs. Adults stood about a meter or 3.3 feet high to the shoulder and weighed 110 kilos, or 242 pounds. Their behavior is unknown, but is suggested to have been a mix of kleptoparasitism, or using their large size to scare smaller predators off their kills, and occasional pack hunting of big herbivores. While kleptoparasitism is unlikely to succeed against an archosaurian apex predator 14 times the size of a hyena, much less against a group of them, packs of both species would likely avoid confrontations with one another. If they did come into conflict, the much bigger tyrannosaurs would likely be able to scare up the hyena packs, similar to the interaction between grizzly bears and wolves today, except if grizzlies hunted in packs. Speaking of bears, Ursus etruscus is another player on the field of Pleistocene Asia. About the size of modern Eurasian brown bears, which as adults range between 150 and 500 kilograms, Ursus etruscus was a powerfully built omnivore. Isotopic studies from 2017 indicate that its diet had high proportions of fish and plant material, so it's unlikely that it would be a direct competitor with Yutyrannus. Even if Ursus etruscus were purely carnivorous, Yutyrannus's probable group behavior and being triple its size would discourage any antagonism on part of the bear. Then we have the cats. First there's Meganterion, a large saber-toothed cat from all across Eurasia. The species present in northern China during the Pleistocene are unclear, thanks to a messy taxonomic situation, but basically we've got an 80 to 120 kilo, 176 to 264 pound saber-tooth running around. Cats are infamous for punching above their weight class in hunts, and Meganterion likely could have hunted prey twice its size. It may also opportunistically pick off young Yutyrannus that stray from the pack, making it more difficult to survive to adulthood. They are thought to be solitary, however, so might not be as much of a problem as the hyenas. Homotherium is a larger cat known from, among other places, the Middle Pleistocene of northern China. It was the size of a lion, with big adults at about 200 kilograms or 440 pounds, and hunted bison and similar-sized animals by biting at their throats with their large teeth. A 2022 paper suggested that due to their competitors, they may have needed to hunt in groups to take down big prey animals. If any of the competitors are cutting into the tyrannosaur population's food supply, it's a combination of Homotherium and Pachycrocuta. Ecologically, as implied earlier, Yutyrannus represents an enormous, pack-hunting, hyper-carnivorous bear with abnormally high stamina. At least that's how the Pleistocene natives would see it. There isn't another animal here that can truly fill the same niche as it does, given the difference in pursuit efficiency and sheer firepower. But the mammalian carnivores absolutely would reduce food availability to some extent. Pleistocene China would become a land ruled by huge packs of hunters, with Yutyrannus becoming the medium game specialists and coexisting with smaller predators like Homotherium and the short-faced hyena. The Tyrannosaur earns a 7 out of 10 for hanger. Which brings me to how only 2 out of 10 people that regularly watch these videos are subscribed, which is absolutely tragic. If you have a second, please check to see if you're already subscribed. Seeing which videos people join on helps me know which series I should continue, so if you want to see more Thrive Eaten Alive, please let me know by clicking subscribe. Now back to the video. The beautiful feathered tyrant's final Thrive Eaten Alive score is a pretty darn decent 7.6 out of 10. Considering its pre-adaptations for cold climates, medium game hunting, and probable gregariousness, it perhaps is one of the theropods that was best prepared to take over the Ice Age. But there are plenty of niches here that can still be explored, and Yutyrannus will be the one to do it. Let's discuss potential variants that could spawn from the imported breeding population and how they'd fit together within the ecosystem of the Nihewan Basin. The first niche they expand to occupy is that of a hypercursorial pack hunter, in the form of Nyxtyrannus periphenos, or proud snow tyrant. These tyrannosaurs grew to resemble their alliramine cousins, with long lower legs along with overdeveloped leg musculature to increase speed and agility. Their jaw gape increased, allowing for wide, rapid bites from the side and rear. To facilitate attacking from behind, their arm claws lengthened and curved, perfect for gripping a bison or rhino. Nyxtyrannus hunt in mixed age groups of up to 12 individuals. These speed-adapted hunters are smaller than their ancestors, at 4 to 5 meters long and 600 kilograms when fully grown, but that's still large enough to be the biggest predator in the region. Their longer legs and smaller size give them a top speed of 60 kilometers or 37 miles an hour. While that alone isn't enough to catch the fastest horses and deer of the Nihewan Basin, their exceptional endurance tips the scales. Nyxtyrannus have enlarged posterior and anterior air sacs, making their oxygen processing 3 times as efficient as mammals of equivalent size. They can maintain top speed for 8 minutes at a time, enabling them to run deer, horses, bison, and rhinos to exhaustion. Nyxtyrannus have actually formed a tentative mutualistic relationship with the much smaller short-faced hyenas, thanks to both groups' high intelligence and social tendencies. Nyxtyrannus packs will use their large size and unsettling deep rumbles to scare herds of bison into movement and chase them towards hyena groups, who will emerge from hiding in turn and create further panic. Together, the tyrannosaurs and hyenas will guide the bison to choke points, where most of the herd will escape, but some inevitably are left behind in the traffic. Then both predator groups will kill and eat their fill. The second variant took advantage of the fact that nothing was regularly hunting the giants of the area, the 9 to 14 ton steppe mammoths. This tyrannosaur gradually moved on from bison and rhinos, growing larger and larger and better adapted for taking on mammalian megafauna with facial weapons until it turned into a true Cenozoic megatheropod. Meet Shenshou Venator, the hunting dragon god. Where Mesozoic megatyrannosaurs all took the arm-shrinking route, Shenshou bulked up in nearly every category. Its arms and hands were long and muscular, with fierce hook claws. Its shoulders were ridiculously robust with massive muscle attachments, all selected for the ability to grasp mammoth tusks and shove them down or to the side, allowing the powerful skull to bite. They aim for the trunk or forehead of their victims, crushing flesh and bone in one fast movement powered by their tall neck muscles. Of course, they do prefer to attack from the rear when possible, but going head-to-head with a big mammoth is not a problem for them. An adult Shenshou male is 11 meters long and 6,000 kilograms. Smaller than a big bull steppe mammoth, but it's not the one doing most of the damage. Males have brightly colored plumage used to distract and confuse mammoth herds, drawing attention with stomps and loud calls while their mates sneak up from behind. Females are dark brown in the summer and snow white in winter, and their feather structure muffles the sound of their movement. Even their foot pads are thickened, distributing their impact out in such a way that the mammoths can't sense where they're walking. Fully grown Shenshou females are 14 meters long and 12 tons, much more massive than typical steppe mammoth bulls. This stealth and power allows them to quickly overpower the least wary members of a herd while their mate distracts them, finishing the fight quickly. They choose mates based on how skilled the male is at distracting, so volume and bright colors are both admirable traits to have. Where Nyxtyrannus mimicked alliramines and Shenshou mimicked tyrannosaurians and megaraptorans, the third variant skipped other tyrannosaurs entirely and decided to copy spinosaurids instead. Chiwensaurus mengfu, or the blessed fish dragon lizard, is a low-slung, slow-going theropod that muscled Eurasian brown bears out of their fish-eating slot. It's a chunky animal, at 9 meters long and 4 tons, and has a long croc-like skull with more conical teeth than its ancestor. Chiwensaurus has long curved claws for grasping and stabbing fish in the lakes and rivers that are common in the Nihewan Basin, and its plumage allows it to stay warm even in cold winter waters so it can hunt year-round. While they will occasionally scavenge or take down land mammals, they prefer to fish, and are common sights on lake shores or riversides. If you enjoy speculation about swapping time periods, you might enjoy my new book, Extinction Obsidian Dawn. It just came out in September 2025, and so far people seem to be liking it. It's about a war between the Aztecs and Carthage, but both sides have psychic dinosaurs. I'm currently a quarter done with the second book, and I'm aiming for a May 2026 date. Link is in the description. Thanks for watching. What other routes do you think Yutyrannus may have taken to adapt to Pleistocene China? What other animals would you like to see hurled across time and space? And for the sake of the galaxy, please tell the Kawashni to hurry up with the Trial of Stone already. My hybrid has been ready for months, and I'm worried that he'll get out of shape before he gets to fight the Nakarak. Anyway, you can join the channel for loyalty badges and shoutouts with early access to videos at the Megatheropod level. I'm the Vividen, and I'll see you the next time I try to capitalize on the theme of a recent prehistoric planet season.